Hello there. Glad that you can be with me today. I'm Steve Cole, the pastor of the First Methodist Church in Oswego, Kansas, and the West Mineral Church, Methodist Church in West Mineral, Kansas. And glad that you can be with me today. We're going to be looking at a passage from Genesis today to look at some of the things about creation and see what that has to say to us in our world today. From Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 to 28. God said, "Let the earth bring forth creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things and wild animals on the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth and every kind of cattle and every kind of everything that creeps upon the ground and every kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humans in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over the cattle and all the wild animals on the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humans in his image, in the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." May God add a blessing to the reading, the hearing, and the understanding of his word. You know, when we say the Apostles' Creed, it begins with the words, "I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth." You know, our faith has to start somewhere. We can believe in lots of different things, but it has to have a beginning point. And of course, that beginning point starts with God and believing in God. And that's kind of what the Apostles' Creed refers to. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, right? The Creator that made this world, the universe, and everything that exists. And we look at the vastness of the universe and everything in it, we realize how unique we are on this little planet called Earth. We wonder, how did this all come about? This planet, and with all the vast amounts of life that are in it, where did it come from? How did it get here? And of course, we're told in Genesis that God did that. You know, as far as we know, the Earth is the only place where life exists. Now, we speculate that there might be life on Mars, but the life that they think that they might come up with is probably microscopic organisms. Not, there aren't little green men or Marvin the Martian there. It's going to be something a lot different. And as we look out into the other places throughout that we can see with the modern telescopes, we see that there are other planets outside our solar system. There are other solar systems out there, and there are planets that are pretty close to the same size as Earth. But as of yet, we can't say that life exists on any of those planets. So, as far but even if they did, you would have to have specific situation in order for life to exist. First of all, you have to have a heat source, and of course, we have the sun, and other planets would have a star that is out there. But not only do you have to have a heat source, the planet has to be the right size. Too big and gravity is going to be too strong, too small, it won't have enough gravity to hold an atmosphere. It has to be the right distance from the star, wherever that is. If it's too close, it's too hot. If it's too far away, it gets too cold. And then we have to have the right chemical makeup. Of course, water is essential to life, so that more than likely have to be some place that has water and has oxygen. And for us, carbon. All our life is based on carbon. And so to have life, you need those things. Does all this just happen by random chance? Well, there are some people that say so. Well, there are billions and billions of stars and billions of planets, and it's likely that on these different planets or stars there would be the right situation, just as I explained, that life could exist. Well, the problem too is, where is that life going to come from? How does it get there? That's a good question. We really don't know. And scientists have studied this, and they come up with theories to say how life came about, that there was certain chemicals that came together and interacted, and there was some kind of a energy source that caused them to all of a sudden turn into something. They talk about amino acids coming together and then forming some kind of a microscopic organism of some kind, bacteria maybe. Well, okay, well and good. If that's the case, we ought to be able to duplicate that. We ought to be able to put all these things together and zap it with some kind of energy source and create something. So far, it hasn't happened. Not able to do it. Can't duplicate it. So where did this life that we have on this planet come from? Well, it seems like it might takes more faith to believe that it just happened by chance than to think that there was a creator that did this. And of course, there are those that believe both ways. But really, in reality, there really aren't that many people that don't believe in God. All out and out atheists that don't believe in God and reject the idea that God exists are really actually very few. Most people believe that there is some higher power, something beyond ourselves that would be responsible for creating the earth and everything else in it, our universe and everything. And there's some that have doubts, but they don't know one way or the other, but they keep an open mind. So, but they want proof. They want something to prove it to them. Down through history, there's been people that have had some concept of God of one kind or another from the very beginning of human development, right? It's only in recent years that we started to not believe in God, and those are a few places in the world, China, Russia, other communist countries mainly. There are people that discount that. But even in those countries, they can't totally get rid of it. There are still people in China and Russia and other places that still believe in God, even though the government doesn't want to acknowledge it. So remember back when the old Soviet Union was formed, they wanted to do away with all the churches, and they ran a lot of the people away. Some people were even killed, and churches were closed, all except the Russian Orthodox Church. They decided, maybe we'll just leave the Russian Orthodox Church there, because everybody that's going to the Russian Orthodox Church were just a bunch of old ladies, and the priests were all old men. So why not just wait? They'll all die off eventually, and there will be no longer a Russian Orthodox Church. Well, the problem is that even if a lot of the ladies died off, more old ladies took their place. And the Russian Orthodox Church kept going. And guess what? It's still there. The Soviet Union's gone. They changed their name to Russia, but still, you couldn't kill the Russian Orthodox Church. Now, let's say, for the sake of argument, that there is God, that God does exist. Now, how do we get in touch with this God? How do we have a relationship with this God, or does God even want to have a relationship with us? And if we look at this passage that we read in Genesis, it seems to indicate that the reason why God made the world and everything in it was to put us here in it, to take care of it. He said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. We were to be the caretakers of the world. But is that all we are? Are we just caretakers? Or is there something more? Does God want something more from us than just to take care of the earth? I think that's where Jesus Christ comes in. In John 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. Kind of an interesting thought, that Jesus was there with God at the creation. When it says the Word, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, well, that is Jesus. And so we think about that, and later in verse 12 it says, to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave the power to become children of God. So evidently God not only wants us to care for this creation that he made, but also to have a relationship with him as well, to be considered the children of God. So it seems like that we are here to take care of this creation, but also to care for, have a relationship with God. And as we care for this world, we care for one another. And as it says that we are to love one another. As I said, we have been said to be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We've pretty well multiplied, covered the earth, and we've subdued it. Done a pretty good job at that. Mission accomplished. What now? What's next? Well, it probably depends on who you talk to. Because depending on a person's perspective, there are those that I will call the end times people that say, well, the world's going to end anyway. So it doesn't really matter if we take care of it or not, because it's going to end, Jesus is going to return, and there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, so we don't need to worry about this one. That's one perspective. And then there's the other, say, side of that. So maybe the other extreme is people that we might call the tree huggers that want to care for the world and the environment and everything that's in it, and think that we all need to do whatever it takes to recycle and to reduce air pollution, to have get rid of fossil fuels and have clean energy, solar and wind, drive electric cars, do those kind of things. Well, is there a middle ground? Do we have to be at one stream or the other? And of course, there are also people that really aren't concerned at all, one way or the other. They just don't care. And there are some that say, well, yeah, I realize, but what can I do? I can't do anything about it. Or they might say, well, I'm too old anyway. I can't do anything about it now, and I'm going to be gone before anything bad really happens. So, but we have to consider that our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will be here on this earth after we're gone. So we have to consider that. I wish I had an answer. I don't. I'm not an expert on all this stuff. I don't know how to solve all these problems, and there are people with better minds than mine that are trying to work on it. So, but I guess the thing is that we may not be able to save the planet on ourselves, but we can work in our little part of this world to do the best we can to reach out. And when I say save the planet, I mean to save it both physically and spiritually, that we can try to do what we can to make this world a better place physically by doing what we can to maintain it, but also to let other people know about God, about Jesus, and help them spiritually as well. Yeah. I know one community that wanted to get into the recycling thing. Thought, well, we're going to, in their own little part of the world. And so they put in a big container that people could put recyclable material. Plastic and paper, and aluminum cans, and whatever, tin cans, whatever, glass. And expected people to come and just drop the stuff off, and then, when they got full, they would take it to wherever it needed to go. And well, the problem was people weren't putting things in the right place. They put paper where the glass was supposed to go. They put plastic where the paper was supposed to go. And some people even just brought their trash and put it in the dumpster. You used it as a dumpster instead of being something for recyclables. It didn't last long. See, that's the thing, is if everybody cooperated, everybody worked at recycling and did the little things that we need to do for clean energy and different things like that, yeah, it would work. Theoretically, it would work if we could get everybody to do it. And it's the same thing from a spiritual standpoint. If we could just get everybody to love one another and care for one another, the world would be a wonderful place. It's hard to do. And as I say, the main thing is probably is that we in our own little world where we live is to just do what we can and ask God, what is it that you want me to do? And do those things that help take care of our world and takes care of each other, so that our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will have a wonderful world to live in as well. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you for, I hope that this may have been a blessing for you. We know that God goes with us to guide us, lead us, and help us today and every day. Amen.